Sitting here at the PGA show for Lab Golf with Sam Hahn. Tell me about Lab putting, because you guys are trying to change the game here a little bit.
We sure are.
Why?
That's the name of the game. Well, it turns out we've been misinformed for a really long time about what putters do.
Okay.
Every one of us that plays the game somewhat avidly has heard this narrative about toe hang and face balanced, and those being pretty much the only two options. And the narrative associated about a particular type of stroke being better for one kind of putter or another. Difficult to just do an audio without the visual being able to see our revealer device here, but
we will after we record. We'll go over there and do it.
Awesome, yeah. But what the revealer exposes is that what we've been told about how a face balanced putter should accentuate a quote, straight back, straight through stroke, and a toe hang putter should help a guy with a little bit of gait and flow. It's just not true. I mean, it's just not even close to true.
So the revealer shows what? And like I said, if you're listening to this on an audio, if you go to brettmccabe.com, our YouTube channel, you'll see the video of this podcast. And you'll see the revealer, because I saw it yesterday. I was like, oh, that's pretty damn cool.
It's nuts. I mean, it's revealing.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
And so the revealer is a device that suspends the putter on a hook and a swivel. So you hold this little device with the putter hooked into it, and your hands can't manipulate the putter at all. So you put any putter in this device and put it into a playing position, and it's going to expose the torque profile of that putter. So, for instance, if I put a face balance putter in the revealer, where it's free to spin and do its thing, the second you take it off the ground, it's very aggressively trying to open up.
It's trying to find. Is it trying to find? What's it trying to find? I mean, I know it's not it. It doesn't have a living, breathing soul to it. But what's the physics trying to find? It's like, the body's always trying to find homeostasis, balance, yin and yang. What's this trying to find? Is it?
Well, every putter's trying to find balance. They're trying to, they're responding to gravity.
Okay.
And face balance putter is in its rested, gravitationally sound position, balanced on a table with the face looking at the sky, which is totally arbitrary. Who told it? Who decided that a putter that points towards the sky laying on a table is really good for putting? I haven't been able to figure out why.
Right.
I think when whoever came up with the single bend shaft that has a shaft pointing at the center of the face to make a putter be face balanced, I think they saw it balanced like that, and
we found balance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We found our general kind of built-in sense of up and down. This one goes up, so that's got to be something, right? And it seemed like it was something, and it definitely was. It's definitely different than the toe hang putter. I mean, everybody who's swung a mallet, big spider mallet, it feels very different when you're swinging it throughout the stroke than a Newport does.
So your market, we were talking yesterday, I've seen it out on tour a couple times.
Sure.
But your market is really not the tour player immediately. I mean, you'll take it. I mean, we're not saying no.
Right.
But what's the market here?
I would say my market is tour pros all the way up to the beginning golfer.
Okay.
I'm having a hard time figuring out why anyone would choose to use a putter that is actively trying to get out of square. So, and that is what our putter does. Now, the reason the tour stuff I think goes slow is because I think that's part of it, although I'm actually really stoked about kind of the timing of the way the industry's working, because a lot of that stuff's changing.
Yeah.
Very few guys are going with 14 club contracts anymore. And
I don't recommend any of my players to do it, actually.
No, it's just, it'll screw you.
Yeah.
And, I've got some stories of guys that screwed themselves with it. But the reason I think it goes a little slow on the tour player side is that tour players are so phenomenally gifted at managing torque, and particularly when you're looking at a 35-year-old tour veteran. I mean, this guy's been at it for 25 years, with likely the same type of putter, and he's built in his bag of tricks on how to make that putter stay square. So it's going to take a little time for them when they get our putter. They all have the same reaction. They all see the revealer, very compelling. They roll a few. Interestingly, the tour guys notice the roll more than anything, and they're always blown away by how sweet it rolls. They love it. They roll it around on a practice screen. The problem with the tour guys is as soon as they miss, a couple putts, the bag of tricks that they have developed over the last 20 years or whatever it is to get back on track when they start pulling them or pushing them doesn't really work with our putter.
Yeah.
And then they get a little scared, and they don't have the time. This is their job, and they need to get back on track and start making putts.
That's a good insight there.
But yes, the general player, and I was that guy. I'm a scratch player. I've been a scratch player for 15 years now or something like that. Putting was always the weakest part of my game, and I was the total putter psychopath. I had 50 putters in my basement. I'd switch constantly just to, get re-energized with a new putter and a new honeymoon period, and and to the point where I was doing it intentionally. And then when I hooked up with Directed Force, got my first putter, like I said, just a customer, it changed everything.
How was your evolution into this? What's your background? You're a scratch golfer. How did you and Bill get connected? Because we'll talk about Bill here in a little bit.
Yeah, it's pretty random. So Bill's the inventor.
Yep.
I have been in the bar and music business for 20 years, yeah.
Okay.
I was a touring musician for a long time. Then I started my own talent agency.
What'd you play?
I played a bunch of different stuff, wrote mostly on guitar and piano.
Okay.
The band I used to tour with was big fun, 12-piece funk swing band with a bunch of horns and singers and everything. It was a blast. And
so a lot of time to play golf.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I had a ton of time during the day. All my work was at night.
Yep.
And when I first moved to Eugene, Oregon, where I live now, moved right next door to a dog-friendly golf course. They had
Oregon.
Exactly. I had a dog, and I didn't really play much golf. It was just a good excuse to run him around. I was 18 handicap when I was 20 years old. I was a scratch player about 3 years later.
Wow.
Or 2 years later. And I went full tilt boogie golf psycho. And So I was just a golfer struggling with the putting. My coach, a fellow named Bob Duncan, who runs the GPS golf system out of Emerald Valley in Eugene, Oregon, exceptional instructor. He introduced me to the putter. At the time, the branding wasn't quite right. The look of the putter wasn't quite right. It looked like
an early prototype.
It wasn't proprototying. They were a company.
I know, but it was early evolution.
Cheesy looking. Yeah. It looked like an infomercial product.
Right.
I was like, at the time, had it in my head I was committed to this really beautiful Napa with nice patine over it and everything. And I'm like, I'm just going to be this guy for this week anyway. And so he showed me the putter. I thought it was ridiculous looking and laughed it off a bit. He said, give me 9 holes. I one-putted the first 7 greens.
Really?
Yeah. In those first 7 holes, I probably made about 120 feet worth of putts. I mean, it was just absolutely.
Honeymoon or just?
So that's a very good question. So I didn't even finish the 9. I drove back. I said, "What the hell is that?" I said, "What the hell is this thing?" I bought one on the spot.
Okay.
And then because I was such a putter psycho, all my friends are making fun of me. I just spent $450 on a branding iron that looks like an infomercial product, and they're just giving me all this crap about it. And because they were giving me so much crap about it, it was a honeymoon, followed by a really severe hangover. I could not hit a swimming pool from 3 feet with the thing, but I was so stubbornly had to stick with it because everybody was giving me so much crap, and I had shown them the revealer. I'm like, no, this is the future of putting, I promise. And it took me about a week to get over the hangover period, which is the same thing I was telling you about the pros. Yeah. Where as soon as it went sideways, the putter just felt vague and strange, and I didn't know how to deal with it. But because of my, that I was backed into a corner by my buddies. Yeah. I had to grind it out. And so I had to sit there and I had to think to myself, look, Sam, this putter stays square by itself. I've seen it with my own eyes. So if I'm not hitting a line with this putter, it ain't the putter. For the first time, I can actively, positively, empirically, scientifically say I know it's not the putter. So I had to make some adjustments. And they're the same adjustments that I see our better players, as they, sort of get into using the putter. It's the same thing that I see that they go through. And it is different. It's a different approach. Every single putt that every single technique, whatever that we've ever worked towards is about making a face stay square. Yeah. This is about letting a face stay square.
I think it's a good insight because I was rolling some on the putting green and he fit me and I'm fascinated with it because I've been putting and I will move around and I probably use a putter. One of my dear friends my instructor is like, it probably doesn't fit you, but you manipulate it very well. Right. Being a baseball player, you got great hand-eye coordination. But I don't feel as comfortable. I'm not doing that. I don't feel as comfortable. I don't make enough putts for as many opportunities as I have. And teaching guys on tour, I know the randomness of putt. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I know all that. I'm bearing my soul to my listeners here. But I'll walk away and go, man, I just played today as a 2 handicap, I had 2 birdies. And there were 2 putts on par 5s. That's frustrating, And so when I was rolling it out there, I was like, because I know my mistake, I like to putt with a right hand low with a claw because I just like the feel. But I feel like when I get I can feel that left elbow move, or I can feel that left elbow condense, and I'm going to miss it left or right. And when I was putting with that, I was like, don't even have to think about that anymore because the putter's staying square. It's just get it started on line.
Yeah, your elbow motion is a reaction to torque.
100%.
You're feeling the putter either try to open or try to close it at a given moment, and you try and...
It's the micro adjustments that I'm trying to make.
Exactly.
And, it's like, oh, I caught that on the left side of the hole. Whew. But I knew it wasn't a good stroke.
Right.
And so when I was putting with that, I was like, at first, I'm going to be honest with you, I've seen Bill on Facebook, being in the golf circles for a while, and I was like, yeah, it's kind of a goofy thing, but the guy believes in it, and there's something to it. And then I saw it here, and I hit some putts with it, and I stopped by, and I was like, let me just try this, because I've been around some of the goofy putters. I mean, I've seen them, and people come to me as a psychologist like, hey, we're going to get your hands, it's going to get rid of doubt. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I mean, I can give you a sledgehammer, and you're going to have doubt with it if you don't think you're a good putter. But the people, there's a reason why, like the claw putting grip or, the arm lock now is working, is that people believe in it. And if you believe in it, then all of a sudden it's like buckets.
Right.
And it doesn't matter what it looks like.
No, and belief is a lot easier when you have empirical scientific evidence in front of you to suggest there's a reason to believe in it.
Right. I mean, if that putter right there had Odyssey written on it or it had Scotty Cameron, everybody would say, it's the it.
Right.
I mean, Scotty Cameron or Odyssey has the fangs. I mean, if somebody who was a startup came up with that, they'd make fun of it.
100%.
Yeah.
They did it to Carson. I mean, Carson Solheim's experience with the ping answer is the thing that gets me up in the morning when I get frustrated about people beating me down about how ugly it is and how ridiculous it is, or calling it a gimmick or calling it that. Carson Solheim stood on a PGA Tour putting greens for 2 years with a ping answer, trying to get somebody to get into it. They say the same exact things that they say to us. I will never put that in my bag. I don't care if it works. I would never putt with something that ridiculous looking. They said this about the ping answer, which is now the standard of beauty.
But yet we've used not only that, we had the Futura and the Futura X, and the Spider. I mean, the Spider has a nice condensed look, but it looks, you look at this, it's like all I care about is making putts.
Right.
Yeah.
And the Spider, what's so funny to me, too, when the guys start talking crap about the way that it looks like when I go to demo days.
Yeah.
Somebody comes up and says to me, like, I'm sorry, it's just too ugly. I could never look at that thing without question, or not without. 9 times out of 10, the dude that says that's got a Spider in his hand. or a Futura. I'm just like, look at your freaking putter, man.
Right. Right.
But it's pretty wild. I do want to tell you how I ended up finishing up and pairing up with Bill. So I fought through my hangover period, and I came out the other side with a slightly different technique. I allowed my technique to accommodate a putter that was trying to stay square by itself. And at the time, I was struggling with some full swing stuff. I play with a psychotically strong left-hand grip, and I had tried to change it to a weak grip, and I was just a mess.
Yeah, I keep a strong right-hand grip, and I won't change it.
And don't ever change your grip. If you're a good player, don't ever change your grip. But anyway.
Deal with it.
Yeah, deal with it. Find your way. So I had gone back up to about a 2.5 handicap, which was high for me at the time. When I figured out how to let the putter roll its thing, I was a +2 90 days later. And my ball striking stats continued to actually get worse. I mean, I was making everything. It was comical. Then one day, I'm on the green, I bounced my putter a little bit, and I hear a funny sound. I started hearing a clicking, rattling.
Oh, God.
Gave the head a twist, head popped right off. So I sent the putter back. Bill, who was pretty much a one-man show at the time, called me up personally to apologize for the head coming off, send it back, I'll repair it, really sorry, and we just got to talking and became buddies. But the company at the time was in trouble. The branding wasn't right, the manufacturing wasn't right, all kinds of things were struggling, and my bar in Eugene that I'd worked in was kind of, I don't want to say an autopilot, but getting pretty close. And I had some time, and I was in the right place at the right time. And he and I became really good friends. And about 3 months after that, we were business partners. So it was a totally random thing that happened as a result of a broken putter.
So my branding mind here is like, why don't you name all the putters after a drink?
Because
I'm laughing.
Yep.
But
that's actually not a bad idea.
It's not. I'm telling you, it's not.
Dude, naming putters sucks. It's so
Name
hard.
it the Cosmo, the White Russian.
That's not a bad idea at all, man. We the conversations that surrounded naming that blade.
I'm telling you. What's the name of the blade?
Well, the original. It's going to blow your mind. Blade.
Okay. See, I would go with.
And then we were like, we can't
navel.
just call it like.
I'd go with the fuzzy navel.
Oh, there we go.
So something like that. You're never going to forget
the
it.
brass one we could have called the Scotch.
The Scotch.
The single malt.
There you go.
That's not a bad idea, man.
People never forget it now.
I'm in. That's a great call. We hated naming it, and then we were like, we can't just call it Blades.
No.
And then we decided to get really hip to cut off the E.
And your head covers all have a little drinks on it.
The drink on it. Recipe for the drink.
Oh my God! Here we go. Now we're
crushing it.
I'm telling you,
crushing it.
That's some good branding right there.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know how many other drinks we have.
And we got another putter that we're hoping to release the PGA show next year under development that sort of looks like a martini glass now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
What would you call it, the vermouth?
That's a good question.
On the rocks?
I think we should probably start small, and just start with the basic drinks. Just call it martini straight up.
Martini.
And maybe it's the martini, and then the light one will be straight up. And
the
dark one will be on the rocks.
On the rocks. Yeah. A little splash. Splash.
See,
there you go.
I love it.
So, do you have? I mean, you've immersed yourself in the physics of this. You've immersed yourself in all the joy of it.
Everything.
Wow.
I love it, and even before any of this, you've been in the golf space forever.
Yeah.
I mean, there's different types of golf characters. I was the nut.
Mm-hmm.
I was. Not just
you would want to come to the PGA show because you want to see every booth and talk to everybody in here. You're the golf
instructors.
Nerd.
I absolutely would want to go to the forums and hear all the stuff. I read books. I built my game from nothing late in life, which is unusual. It's unusual that somebody gets good late in life, or later anyway. And so, I was, at my club, I'm everybody's, amateur instructor. If they're struggling, they come to me. And so it wasn't as though this was just out of nowhere and all of a sudden, I'm learning about it. But the one part of the game that I really hadn't, really delved into was putting. It was a bit of a mystery to me. I'd read a few books and they just didn't make sense to me. The moment in which putting made sense to me was actually the very first PGA show I attended. So Bill and I were sort of lightly talking about partnering together, and basic negotiations had begun, and and how'd we do it, and how we deal with his old partners, and all the stuff. And I was on the fence because this was a life-changing thing that was going to happen.
Yeah.
This is lots of conversations with the family and figuring out, can I actually do this? Can I travel this much? Can I, can we afford this? All the stuff. And Bill said, why don't you come to the show? We already have the booth reserved. We were just going to not show up. But if you want to do this, let's show up and let's do it. And we had the worst booth in the entire show. It was like 4 feet by 4 feet. And we had this wrinkly, stupid putting mat and this broken vinyl sign hanging in the background. And I spent 3 days, 12 hours a day with the revealer, with a toe hang in it, with a face balanced in it. And I'd already, obviously, like I said, I'm already crazy about the putter. But as far as learning about putting, learning about why Stan Utley's book only helped me for a little while, and why Dave Pelz's book only helped me for a little while. Why those techniques. I
was going to ask, do you have certain
ideas.
instructors on board now?
I don't have any putting gurus. They're all a little hesitant. I think it's a scary. I think if you're a big shot putting instructor, I think you're in.
So you respect that?
100%.
Yeah,
absolutely. And what I do have. Is I have some full swing instructors who are crappy putters, and that's why they're instructors, because they're would otherwise be out on tour if they could putt. And those are the guys that are quite a bit more interesting to me, who are discovering what I went through. A Phil Kenyon or a David Orr, these guys can roll it, man.
Yeah,
Stanley Utley can roll it.
Yeah.
Like they aren't just making this stuff
Yeah.
up. I mean, they can really fill up the hole, and so their methodology is based on the way that they find themselves filling it up. Whereas with a full swing instructor who struggles with putting, they get to go through the same thing. They get to find out that this was the answer for them as it was the answer for me, and as I believe it will be the answer and ultimately the standard of putting.
Yeah, I'm excited. I want to get one because I'm excited about taking it out on the golf course. It makes me excited versus seeing, like I always tell the story, I fix my chipping with the Orange Whip wedge trainer.
I love the Orange Whip guys.
Oh my God, has that thing changed my chipping? I'll chip. You want to put me on a hard wet lie? I'll chip.
Speaking of Orange Whip, you know Jim, the guy invented it.
Okay.
So I went and played some golf with him. His national sales director was a real good friend of mine, a phenomenal player named Burke Nelson. He was an All-American at OSU. Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Yeah, Burke's the man. So I played with him, Burke, and Jim was struggling with his putting that day. And he was kind of interested in my putter.
Yeah.
But when he was struggling with, I think he was using an answer-style putter when he started the round. And then he started missing him a little bit left, a little bit right. He pulled out his Orange Whip putter.
Did he really?
With a real shaft in it, but with the bulge and roll on the face or everything,
Really?
the two started making everything.
Really?
It was incredible. Yeah, it was awesome to see.
Well, that's the thing is I'm always willing to try something different. I don't think we have to be static in our thought process. Most of the time, the psychological reason why people don't change is because that people, when you bring something to them, the initial reaction is resistance.
Sure.
And they resist because they either want to confirm that their way will work eventually or your way is crazy.
Right.
And the problem is it's like, there's got to be something in between.
Yeah.
If you want to play better golf and you're not going to sit out there and hit putts for 47 days in a row, that's why I'm fascinated by your product. This is not an endorsement. This is not an ad. I'm just fascinated by what you guys have done here.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really nuts. I mean, and what blows my mind, too, is that nobody ever thought of it.
Yeah.
How did nobody ever think to make a putter that balances to go that away instead of up at the sky or marginally to the whatever? And it was Bill Presse. It was Bill Presse.
Well, speaking of that, let's get Bill on here.
Yeah.
If we can find Bill, he may have run away because.
Absolutely, we should get Bill. The story on how he came up with this.
I know, that's what
awesome.
I want to do.
It is awesome.
So we're going to pause this right now. We'll get Bill on here, and then we're going to go to the revealer with Sam and Bill. Sam just stepped away. Now we got Bill Presse in, who is the inventor of the L.A.B putting mechanisms, which I'm trying to advocate for them to name them after alcoholic drinks.
Yes, we could have a L.A.B cocktail.
You can. I mean, you have your cocktail menu. Yeah. Is every one of these putters. I'm telling you, it would take off. And then this would be called the 19th hole.
I can go with that.
I can do this.
Totally.
I can do this.
All day.
All right, how did this start? I want to hear it from the inventor.
So, gosh, it must have been maybe 7 years ago now. I missed a Monday qualifier and hit 17 greens and shot 72. And that was disappointing. So. Yeah. Back in the day, I used to have an old putter called the Cobra Tricep, where you could untwist the top of the grip, but it was like arm lock, but it'd go outside your left arm and then run through your grip, so you couldn't take and flip the putter. So to make the putter head move, it was all shoulders. You literally couldn't flip the putter head. So we did that. I had my face balance putter at the time. And I had it in that tricep style, and I cut the grip off, and my shirt was slippery, my hands were greasy, and I was just practicing one night, and I literally couldn't keep the face square. And so that was supposed to be a face balance putter.
And it was all over the place.
Yeah, it just kept rotating open, and I had to squeeze that steel shaft, and it was impossible. So at that point, it kind of dawned on me that face balance putters are not really balanced to stay straight straight through. They just physically can't do that. So we just did, it dawned on me. Then after that point, I said, well, there's this old putter called the positive putter, and then a plop. But they were just these simple blades. But if you put them on the table, they were toe up. And so I took an old mallet head that I had, and I put it on the counter, and I spun it, and I kind of saw which part of the head wasn't moving, so that's going to be the CG. And then I used a little, pencil eraser to kind of balance it and find that center of gravity. And then I literally held it in one hand with a drill bit, and the drill bit walked to the toe just a little bit as I was trying to drill it. And so I put a shaft in it, and I put it on the counter, and the toe raised up, and I was making, some putts with that. And it was really good. And then I said, something's going on here, but I want to see what's going on. So I just figured out how to make this revealer, which was a stick and a hook and a string hanging off the top. And
where'd you get the idea for that? I mean, that's like are you a physics guy or what?
No, I just, I started in club repair back in the 80s, mid 80s. And over the years, I'd seen some ways that they would take putters and put a swivel in the shaft and stuff like that. And the revealer, though, was interesting because I wanted to see what my other putters were doing. So I don't know how I came up with it. I just made it. And then that turned into making it. I went down to the thrift store and found a crutch, and I said, okay, well, now I can put two hands on it. you know, and then the string, the swivel was coming out of the armpit piece.
Yeah.
And then you know, I machined a little trough and where the crutch comes together and cut it off, and that supported the putter, and I could use two hands to swing it and hit long putts. And then I engineered the revealer to a machined, cool-looking thing, and it works insanely good.
So as a player, and
Yeah.
were you playing professionally? Were you?
Back in the day, I played a little college golf, went to the San Diego Golf Academy, and then kicked around on some mini tours in Phoenix. And, yeah, you know, I was always a pretty good ball striker, just never a really great putter.
Yeah.
And so directed force was kind of a me trying to help my own putting game, and then it turned into something really neat, and then got some patents issued on the physics of the balance. Langle balancing was a patented physics, and then the press grips was another, you know, that was originally...
Because the grips are unique.
Yeah.
You know, tell our listeners, and you can see here on the video, if you go to our website and you follow it on the video vlog of it, you can see it. But tell me what the grip does differently. I mean, you had kind of described to me earlier that the shaft maneuvers in there a little bit.
Yeah, it tilts through the grip towards the target. So when I figured out how to balance a putter, you can't balance a putter unless the shaft is actually behind the face. But I always liked having my hands ahead of the ball. I mean, over the ball, ahead of the face. So, you know, it was like one thing, or let's put the shaft here, and well, let's lean it forward so the butt end of the club is back over the top line. And then I put the putter down on the ground one night, face down, and I saw this angle where the putter face was on the ground and the shaft, and I just went out the garage and got a poster tube and slipped it over the end of the grip, the end of the shafts, so it was flat on the cement with the face, and then shot it full with foam and came out the next day. So now I had forward shaft lean, but I could grip it low or high, and I was never changing ball position, eye position, release, none of that. So anytime you take forward lean and you move your hands up and down the shaft, you're changing all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's when the whole thing really started to come together, and it became an insanely good putter at that point.
What have you seen results-wise as you're out there? I mean, it's got to be like watching your kid succeed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the booth here at the PGA show going, wow, this is surreal. And so, 5 years ago, I had my first little tiny 6 foot by 8 foot booth down back in the corner over here. And, you know, I had some success with some club pros. Give a shout out to Stuart Smith, who was one of my early adapters in Northern California. And then got some good exposure with some Champions Tour players. And then when Bryson DeChambeau turned pro, he was using the directed force in Vegas because he liked the physics, obviously. You know, that's kind of the deal. And that got me some good exposure. And then we grew. It's just, you know, as the companies, every year it gets a little bit bigger, and then we just get breaks.
What do you get comments from other putter manufacturers about it? I mean, it's just a startup.
You know, it's funny because Bobby Grace and Tad Moore are legendary putter makers, and we've all become pretty, you know, friends. I'm not copying their stuff, and they think that, you know, the Revealer is the coolest thing ever in for putters.
Did you patent that?
Yeah, no, don't need to.
Really?
No, because I have the patent that makes only putters stay straight in it.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was kind of funny, but it was Langle balancing is the only putter that really squares up or stays square. And so the Revealer, I said, well, here's, you know, this is great for the industry. If another company wants to make a Revealer, great, you know, but it shows toe flow and face balance and what they really do. And how we're managing torque. And so the Revealer is just kind of a thing we just make, and it's great for teaching. You know, if you have a lab putter and you put it in there, it separates the hands and it gets the shoulders moving. And so visually it's very enlightening. Yeah. It's an education tool.
Before we go over there, I want to ask you one more question. The ups and downs of being an entrepreneur and fighting this battle has to be tough.
Yeah, paying the mortgage is That's always an important thing.
Yeah.
So it's just when you think things are going to close or something, I kept getting good breaks and really just eating top ramen and
hustling.
There was some times and hustling and it's a 24/7 job.
Yeah.
And anytime you're doing something like this, you got to have a passion for it because you're making a lot of sacrifices.
Sure you are.
But it's things are much cooler now than I ever expected when I first started.
Well, let's go talk about the revealer. Make sure. How can people go to LabGolf.com?
Yeah.
For information?
Yeah. Go to there's our Instagram page, Twitter, and Facebook. They're all linked up now.
Okay.
We have all new branding and a clear message.
And soon to be drinks.
And lab drinks.
Yeah, see, drinks, putter. I'm just teasing you guys. But if I do see it, I'll be very proud to say it.
Yeah,
That'll be cool.
Check us out at LabGolf.com. You can always find me, Bill Presse the Fourth, on Facebook. If we've got a kind of a crazy page going, it's fun. So,
that's great. It's good. Well, let's go look at the revealer, and then make sure you check them out, Bill and Sam and all the group at LabGolf.com.
Yep.
And it's cool. It's if you're an entrepreneur, you want to learn, if you want to get better at golf, if you want to get better, it's just. Listen, it takes the innovation and feelings halfway crazy and halfway broke and halfway panicked and manic to come up with something that may just change the industry. So let's take a look at the revealer.
All right. You can see where this could have been a crutch at one point.
Yeah, I can 100% see it.
This is a Marlon Swivel for catching marlin.
Oh, wow.
So it's really easy to spin. We keep them greased up, but there's no play this way.
Yeah.
Very little anyways. And then we use felt in here so that the shafts are padded and they don't vibrate and shake and they don't move laterally too much.
Yeah.
So, but again, there's no per se resistance to stopping this from what it's doing. If I go up and down, it's pretty stable. If I go side to side,
so this thing's physics-wise is on this axis.
Yeah, this is a little bit of toe hang. And this is good that we use this putter because I'm going to show you something really neat that we just kind of stumbled upon this last year, and how fast we take back a putter. So we put this down a play position. Now that's sold out, Brett.
Yep.
If I just pick it up, it opens.
Wow.
If I go back too fast, and we come forward, it never squares.
So you're having to manipulate it constantly as a player.
Yeah, if you twist this shaft, there's quite a bit of torque to keep that putter face square. Right, so when I come through, even if I square it back here and go forward, there's no toe flow, and according to that, there should be some toe flow. In the current thinking, in the paradigm of what's out there in the information. Also, if we take it back too fast, it hoods. Right, so there's a point where if you take it back too fast or too slow, it's going to rotate one way or the other. So if you have a quick tempo, you may get a torque spike counterclockwise. If you're too slow, it's going to go clockwise. And if you get it just right, you can kind of teeter it before you come. But as soon as you transit, there's a big spike. The toe wants to flip open and never come back.
You never come back.
Yeah. So then we go to.
Shape and size, these kind of designs don't
again,
that's good.
It's pretty free to spin, and I'll stop this. You can feel it. There's nothing really stopping this.
No.
Right. So when we come in here, now it just makes putting easy. And I think one of the really key things that also, when you talk about heel toe weighting or ball speed across the face, you see a lot of technology out there where they use variable depth grooves or variable surface area to try to create a consistent ball speed and direction on off-center hits. Nobody's really worried about center hits, right?
Yeah.
It should go straight. So let me get a couple golf balls here. Swing this back. I'm just going to set up left edge.
Okay, broke left.
You didn't see any twisting,
Nope,
right?
none.
I'm going to set up the same way. I'm going to hit way out on the toe here.
Exactly. That's what everybody manipulated. So. I'm going to take your ball here, Bill.
And there's no twist.
No twist.
But the ball's gone.
Yeah.
And so that just shows.
So where does the balance, I mean, not really revealing patent or whatever, is it in here?
Yeah, there's
Okay.
There's these two weight ports go inside the head quite a ways, and it's tungsten powder. And so each head is forged from aircraft aluminum and then CNC machined after it's tempered and hardened. And then the face is not an insert. These are micro machining grooves, and so the grooves help break up the edge of a dimple on a golf ball. And if you're not using a Pro V1 or whatever high-end ball, if you're using a distance ball, you definitely want to use grooves on the face because it covers harder and it helps deflection, especially on short putts. When you hit a ball hard, the dimple compresses, the material compresses on, comes off pretty straight, but it's those little 2-footers and 3-footers where you hit swinging so slow that if you catch a corner of a dimple, you can actually get a little bit of deflection, unless it's like different dimple patterns I won't name.
Yeah.
So and after that, everyone's machined and then anodized, type 3 hard anodizing, so it's not paint. And then we shaft them and hand balance them and grip them. So it's
Fantastic.
very custom. And the drills part, I don't know if you guys have ever seen this, but part of the design was for teaching and coaching. So we'll just go over to this one here. And a golf ball sits in the back. We do the 2-ball drill first. Now, if a lot of people don't become great putters because their tempo is too quick or too slow or whatever, so we try to not do that.
Right.
And then you can take the directed force head, and we're just looking to take the putter back long enough to keep those in there. And you practice this all the way up to long distance. Right? And
Yep.
most people will do that.
They make the big jerk move.
Yeah, that's where you see the ball jump, or the distance control is poor. Also, the key to making a lot of putts is making sure that your putter is sold out. So when we're putting with the toe up, it just comes difficult. You never know when the ball's going to grab and straighten out. You're putting a side axis on the ball. So with this putter, you just lean it back. That ball centers in the back beam. And once it finds center, now we just lean it forward. If I go toe up, it rolls right to the inside. So this gives me a visual to know. So I'll just set it up. I'll lean it back. Wait for it to stop. It'll find a little dimple and sit right there. Now I come forward. Now I know I'm sold out.
Yeah, sold out.
Right. So then we just try to make a stroke and keep that ball right there.
Perfect.
If you take and you release it too much, or there's something odd in the stroke, that ball will start slopping around in the back of the bean-shaped hole. So that's the training part. The 2-ball drill, the 1-ball drill. And
Are those on the website?
They might be. I think we have a link on the
Okay.
website. Yeah.
All right.
So if not, you can look them up on YouTube.
Super. Lab Golf, directed force, Phil Presse, Sam Hahn. Yes. Make sure you check them out online, LabGolfcom.